Yaza here from freeballydanceclasses.com. As you can see, today I am in heels because our video today is talking about how you dance with high heels. Okay, first of all, a lot of people don't agree even with the idea of dancing with high heels. It's not really common. You see it mostly in the Turkish cabaret styles and also in the Lebanese styles. So most of the Egyptian dancers usually don't dance with high heels. But it doesn't matter what you style you're doing, some people are just so into it, they like it because they think it's cute. I think personally it's really cute. I don't do it because it's not easy for me. I know certain tricks on how to do it, but I still don't prefer it. I like the freedom of being able to do whatever I want when I'm dancing. I can do it, but I have to control myself and control my movements, and there's certain things I just can't do. So for those of you who love high heels and want to perform with them and want a few tips, so I want to share a few things with you. First of all, what kind of shoes to dance with? It really doesn't matter, actually. If you want to wear these kind of shoes, everybody's has different types of bodies, and certain shoes will look better on you than others. Some people might like this kind of shoes, and some people like more like the sandal look. I find personally that these type of shoes like this, the pumps, are better because your foot is supported on the sides, whether like this. But when you're wearing the sandals, you can really easily slide. So and when you're moving a lot and your feet get sweaty, your feet could come off. But if you want to wear this type of shoes, the pumps, make sure that they're tight. Like these are really tight on me. So maybe like a little bit of a smaller size, especially if you're not going to be performing for too long. But if you're going to be doing it for a long time, that might hurt. But definitely something that's going to hold you tight so your foot doesn't come off. So if I move with these, they don't really come off my feet because they're really, really tight. How high you want to go? You go as high as you want to. But if you wear high heels because you think it's going to look good, you got to go for it, all right? Like 2.5, even 3 will look really great. A few tips here. Certain moves are really easy to do. They don't make really a big difference, like your hip kicks. As long as you bend your knees a little bit, you're fine. You can walk with it too. The basic trick when it comes to walking with high heels is you cannot slide your feet. This is not like with your feet, when you're barefoot and you just kind of slide your feet. You gotta step. For every step, you gotta lift your foot off the ground, and always land with your heel first. So don't land with your toe or the front of your foot. Always land with the heel. So like if you're traveling with hip kicks, you're gonna have to do this constantly. Okay? So it is important that you kind of wear with your high heels that you wear some long skirts, so you don't see the footwork too much. You focus more on the hips. So from here, if I want to just do a hip kick, so you just gotta step it, step it, step it. So every step, you gotta lift a little bit. Okay? So that's the main thing as far as traveling, and just kind of like do it and travel with it, and get used to the motion of actually lifting your feet with it. Now, for a hip simple move, again, like the hip drops, it really doesn't make a huge difference, except for one little detail. When you do normally the hip drops, you gotta lift your heel. Well, your heel is already lifted, and that is by far the trickiest thing when it comes to dancing with heels. So you cannot lift your heel. You can try a little bit, but it will always feel a little awkward. But like from here, what's gonna help you do like hip drops is the knee. So you gotta bend the knee, and then all you're doing is just straighten the knee and dropping the knee, straighten the knee, dropping the knee. So the motion that we're used to with our shoes, which is pointing the toe, lifting the heel, doesn't have to happen here because the heel is already lifted. So there is some extra. The bottom line here is what I'm trying to tell you is some basic moves you're gonna have to find yourself adding something else to be able to walk with heels, like with the hip kicks, for example, that little lift that you have to add that you don't have to think about it normally if your feet are flat. But in other moves, especially the ones that involve the heel lift, you don't have to think about that anymore. So it kind of makes it easier. But if you're used to dancing without high heels, it just feels like a weird transition. Okay? So what you do is you really count on the knees to generate any hip lift and drop motion. So same thing, you can walk around with it, walk around, and stop, 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 okay? Of course, the other thing too is that you're not gonna find yourself being able to move as fast as you used to before, okay? Now back to the basic moves, again, how they're affected by the heels. The shimmy. The shimmy is probably one of the trickiest ones. Not as much the Egyptian shimmy because that's more of a grounded shimmy. So normally a grounded shimmy, Egyptian shimmy, where our feet are flat on the ground and we're really focusing on the knees. That is not a hard one to do even with the high heels. So even though our heel is technically lifted here with the heel, as long as we keep our feet grounded and really focus on the knees, we can still do an Egyptian shimmy just fine with the heels, okay? Now, the trick becomes when you start doing a choo-choo shimmy. That is really hard to do with high heels because in a choo-choo shimmy, you have to be pointing on the toes and, and moving the hips. So it's gonna be hard, and the way to do it, especially also the other tricky thing about it is that in a choo-choo shimmy, you're gonna slide in your toes, you're like this. So you can do it with the heels, and the way to do it is of course by pushing those heels off the floor just a little bit, just a tiny bit. It's gonna be hard to do anyways. With the heels, you can't just like lift the heel and then keep all your foot on the floor, on the front. That's really tricky things to do. But that helps if you want to do it that way. You can totally do it. So I watch here. I'm gonna bend my knees, push my heel up, and then start sliding. I'm not gonna be able to move as fast as if I had flat feet, and I'm gonna find myself also sometimes where the heel will just drop. Because when I lift it just like a tiny little bit off the ground, as you can see. So as I keep moving, it's gonna drop. And when it drops, it's gonna make that sliding movement really hard, or I'm gonna feel like I'm stopping, and that doesn't feel good when you're going, fast with the choo-choo shimmy. You kind of wanna keep going. So that will stop you, and then you have to like really push that heel again off the floor to take off again. So that's gonna be one of the hardest things for choo-choo shimmy, okay? The other thing that's kind of tricky usually, I'm going to just talk to you guys, by the way, just about the important stuff, because there's so many different things you can talk about when it comes to dancing with heels. But I just want to focus on the most important, main, basic moves that we use all the time. Our kicks, our drops, our shimmies, and now our turns. So the turns are going to be also one of the hardest things to do. So a lot of dancers, when they dance with heels, the turns become really slow. You can be creative with them, but they also have to be slow. You can't really do the very fast turns. The only turn that you can do easily fast with the heels will be like the toe turn. If you haven't learned a toe turn, make sure you go to the website. There's a video that tells you how to do toe turn. But it's really easy. You're just pretty much up on your toe, you lift your heel, and then you turn it really fast. That is a little hard to do with the heels, but not as hard as the other turns that we've done in the past, like the pivots. All the pivot turns are going to be super hard to do with the heels. The toe turn, as long as you kind of push your weight forward a little bit, and then you lift the heel just a tiny bit, but then you have to kind of step into it still. But then you got to make sure that the heel doesn't touch the ground, which is kind of hard because at some point, if my heel drops like right now, I just faked it to see, I'm going to stop. So that's going to stop my turn. So if I'm trying to go really fast with my turn, the toe turns are the easiest with heels, but you got to make sure that you don't drop that heel. Also, it is dangerous too when that heel drops, especially if you're going super fast. Because when the heel drops, and like it drops like midway, for example, of my turn, you can fall. So be very careful and make sure you really push that heel off the ground constantly, okay? Or don't go as fast, because that way you can save yourself. Or just find yourself pausing and stopping instead of actually, completely falling on the floor, which won't be a good thing to do. So avoid the pivot turns as much as you can. Things like this. That's not going to happen with heels easily. Just gonna, even if you can do it technically, it's not going to look good. So just avoid it. Step turns, anything where you have to step and turn, like the 3-step turns, those are easy to do. You can still do them because you're walking. Whenever you have to like pick up your foot and step, you can do those. But anything that requires you to pivot, don't do it. And the only way you can do the fast turns easy will be with a toe turn. Okay? So those are just few tips concerning some of the main moves that we do in belly dancing and how you can, adapt them to wearing heels so you can still, feel good about wearing those heels and not fall, on your ass on this stage. Okay? So hopefully this was helpful for those of you who've been asking. I'll see you guys next time in the next video. Make sure you check out the website and like our Facebook page. The link is on the website, freebellydanceclasses.com. See you next time. Bye.